Welcome back from the break. Now, this year, the federal government will host youths from across the nation for the National Youth Conference, which is expected to take place in later in February. Experts have said it will be a pivotal event for Nigeria, especially over half of the country's population is under the age of 35. The 30-day conference aims to address critical issues like youth unemployment, education, technology, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Youth empowerment, and inclusion in governance. In Nigeria, the unemployment rate decreased to 4.3% in the second quarter of 2024, reflecting a 1% point drop from the 5.3% recorded in the first quarter of 2024. As you look forward to this event, we will like to explore how youth can make them sellable for employment through innovation and tech. Interesting conversation we'll be having. And joining us live via Zoom is a technology and innovation expert, Lucky Opono. Mr. Lucky, good morning, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Good morning, Sly. Thank you for having me on the show this morning.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so let's just go on. So, of course, statistics shows that unemployment rate has a slight decrease, but we'll still have a high numbers of unemployed youth wallowing away. How can we encourage these young ones to be a lot more productive in this new year, knowing fully well that there's a lot at stake when it has to do with youth not getting employed in the country?
Correct. So I don't really think it's a unemployment rate. It's issue that is actually limited to Nigeria alone. Unemployment has suffered globally post-COVID, as we all know. However, recovery rate has not been encouraging as expected in Nigeria. And this is attributed or driven by lack of strategic policy by the government, and there is a lot of expectation from the government to actually drive policies and actually put down a thriving environment for youth to be employed. Having said that, I think we all have our work cut out for us. The youth shouldn't rely on the government alone. Like we brought initiatives into the country, myself and my team, and we've initiative around upskilling in technology, and the result has been remarkably unbelievable. The youths that have actually engaged in our programs and have been able to go on to actually get jobs. Nigeria is full of opportunities. There are low-hanging opportunities in Nigeria, not limited to technology, finance, even design. So I think it's high time the youths roll up their sleeves and cut down their vices. Youth should be able to actually save towards and identify opportunities they can actually upskill in, and then save towards upskilling and be able to actually transition from where they are currently to be able to find those opportunities. So not depending on the government alone to actually create that favorable environment does not actually work. We have one of the biggest working population in the world, and I think the government and myself and those in the diaspora have a lot of work to do to actually create an enabling environment, both in technology and other thriving sectors, to enable the youth to start to harness opportunities. And by doing so, we can start to actually drive down that high rate of unemployment post-COVID.
Okay, you spoke about how the government policy is to enable and create an enabling environment for everyone to thrive. And this is a major factor in trying to address the rate of unemployment. But you've also spoke about how every hands must be on deck, whether from the private sector or the public sector, and even the Nigerians themselves. Now, let's look at how some tricks of how trade can be done have to be employed. As an expert, what are some of the tricks of the trade to get one employed?
I think it starts with a positive mindset, especially for the Gen Z. and the youth. I think Nigeria, we've actually, for a long time, we've had this perception of I can do it alone, but for any nation to actually drive forward and improve their GDP and have a thriving economy, I think everyone has to actually work collaboratively. So that mentality of I can do it alone, I think youths today should start to actually take their mindset off that working in isolation. So we do have problems. So do every other country, and job comes from solving problems. So I do hear a lot of youth saying, "I need a job." What job? So you can actually create job out of thin air. So by finding solutions to problem, that way youth can actually create opportunity, find out opportunities, and may be able to create job. So there's problem everywhere, and like there are problems everywhere in Nigeria, globally, and looking for solutions. So being able to find a solution to that problem will actually create that enabling environment for youths to start to identify those opportunities. There are quite a lot of low-hanging opportunities, and thinking outside the box and being creative and taking off that mindset of doing it alone. I think youth should start actually bringing themselves off that mindset and work collaboratively going forward.
After hearing you now, it looks as if some youths, there's a discussion where if some are even employable. There's also the discussion of how the market is favorable in Nigeria. So there's that discussion where, okay, we don't have the enabling environment is not here, so let's do the japa. You understand? Where they go to other countries for majorly education and employment, and of course there's this perception that they go and just do the hot jobs. How can Nigerian youth put themselves higher for a better employment home and abroad? Because it's a discussion that we need to have, the Japa syndrome, and of course, coming back to the Jakpada syndrome.
So I believe that Japa syndrome or Japa phenomenon is a mixed story, because there are a lot of Nigerians coming back home to actually set up shops. And in as much as you have quite a lot of Nigerians whose plan going into a new year is to actually Japa, go overseas for better opportunities, you still have quite a sizable population of Nigeria coming back home to be able to create opportunities. And I would use tech as that global phenomenon. We live in a digital-driven world. And Nigeria, in recent years, Nigeria has quietly emerged as a significant player in the global talent outsourcing market in technology. So I would liken that. So I tend to actually compare where Nigeria is and where India was 20 years ago. So India is actually leading in the outsourcing market. And what have they done? We should be looking at what has India done right, where India creates an environment where multinationals are able to actually outsource technology jobs, software and digital projects delivery to India. And in doing so, I'll give you a statistics. I think in 2022, the global remittance was $856 billion, and India received $125 billion in inward remittance, money coming into the country, helping to actually pedal, pushing the economy. And Nigeria, I think we had less than 15 billion in remittance coming into the country, and 80% of that remittance are families sending money, people sending money overseas to families in Nigeria, but we can't actually place a reasonable figure of that remittance coming from outsourcing jobs into Nigeria. Again, I mentioned earlier on, we do have one of the biggest working population, if not the biggest in Africa, and competing with the likes of China and India. So I know the government have a lot to do, and they have a responsibility to put strategic policy in place to actually support outsourcing roles, outsourcing job opportunities. But the likes of myself and others in the diaspora in the tech industry also have a big role to play to actually come back, set up shop, create an enabling environment where youths can actually make themselves useful. They can easily transition into the tech ecosystem. We live in a